with us from the Wish Group. Welcome, Frank.
Oh, great to be here.
Thank
for having
you
me.
so much for coming. When I stand out in your front foyer and I see all of the awards and the certificates, I feel honored to be here, that's for sure.
Oh, well, it's nice to have you. My parents like to love you for sure.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about where the Wish Group is today, the current landscape, and then obviously we'd love to hear about how you got here.
Yeah, I mean, the Wish Group is really a collection of several different businesses, mainly in the telecom, human resources, and media space. And there wasn't a grand strategy. It just kind of evolved that way. Our roots are telecom.
Right.
I got in the teleconferencing business when I was still a student at York University.
Yeah, tell me this. I find this fascinating.
Yeah, I just wanted a better summer job. I was working at UPS unloading trailers, which was awful, worst job of my life. And so then I went to a telemarketing job, which was, most people hated it, but coming from unloading trailers, I thought it was great.
So you had no trouble picking up the phone?
No, I think if that was my first job, then I probably wouldn't like it like everybody else didn't seem to like it. But, coming from, it's all expectations. So
yeah.
Coming from unloading trailers, and breaking my back to picking up a really light phone, that was pretty easy.
Yeah, it's funny though, but some people would think the weight of the trailer is way better than hearing someone hang up on you all day long.
Oh, I had no problem with rejection. I didn't take it personally at all.
Good, okay.
They just didn't want newspaper subscriptions. I didn't blame them. But ironically, that ended up being probably one of the most important jobs I've had in my life, because then when I got an opportunity to work in the teleconferencing business, it was a B2B versus B2C, I brought that same work ethic where I was just dialing for dollars all day long, but people actually wanted to speak to me. So I got great results.
So this is what year? Put us in the context. Because teleconferencing would have been kind of
1990
newish?
6. Yes. I mean, it was still a mature business, but it was not like it is today. It was, people were still. It was still new. It was still predominantly just Fortune 500.
Right.
And maybe non-for-profits used it as an alternative to travel, but it definitely is not commonplace like it is today. Like, and everybody knows what conferencing is today. I mean, I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what is that, party lines? I'm like, well, no, it's. I'm dating myself, but they said kind of, but for businesses.
Right.
So
you're selling for this company.
Yep. And great little entrepreneurial company. Really nurturing culture. It was a great first real job, quote unquote. And all that seemed to change when that company was purchased by Bell Canada. And we were all afraid of losing our jobs, and the culture shifted immediately. They started to eliminate the holiday party, and we used to do a really cool family picnic. Even though I didn't have any family at the time, but it was still cool to see everybody's kids.
Yeah.
It really brought the team together. They did a lot of great cultural things, and all of that ended immediately. So
really?
It feels like the soul got sucked out of the company.
Yeah.
Even though the same people, even though we kept doing the same great work,
right.
It just felt different. And that's what got me started to think about, hey, maybe this is something I can do on my own. Maybe I can build a better mousetrap.
Right.
The only problem was I was a history poli-sci major. I knew nothing about raising any money or writing a business plan, none of that stuff. I just had a dream.
And that was you say that was in what, 1996?
Yeah.
And so now looking back, none of that mattered, right?
No, but it did. It took me a while though, because that original vision was October of '96, but it didn't actually start in Unsafe Conferencing until August of 2001. So it took 5 frustrating years. And
you were on the road to become a lawyer, correct?
That was the plan. Yes.
That's what your mom and dad wanted you to do.
My dad definitely wanted me to do that. But he's happy now.
Yeah. What did he say though when you came home or went for dinner on Sunday night and said, "I think I'm going to do this"?
Well, he wasn't happy at all, and he was worried that I would like the money. You know? And I said, "Well, I'm going to complete my undergrad, not to worry." I said, "Let me just go with this for a while. I can always start law school later." I even started talking about MBA. But he wasn't happy at all. But I did share the vision with him. I'm like, listen, I'm going to start my own company, and it's going to be very successful. Don't worry. And he just kind of looked at me, and you could see the faith there. I mean, or he didn't want to deflate and that's what I love most with my parents. Even if they were questioning it, they didn't want to deflate me. They wanted to make me believe that I could do whatever I put my mind to. And
but you already had it too, though. Like you already believed in yourself.
I did, because I was already successful in onboarding customers.
Yeah.
I understood the business well enough. I just didn't understand. I didn't know where I was going to get the money.
Right.
to get started. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back. And
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
one of the frustrating things about the entrepreneurial climate in Canada and the lack of government support. I see that changing, which is great. And I think that's probably why I became so passionate about, in regards to giving back my time or sharing my experiences. I really like to encourage students and young entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, to just go out and give it a try. I mean, I know the path is usually going to work for a big company for a while and get an experience, but so often people get trapped there.
Yeah, no, for
They
sure.
don't go for it. And there's a fear, and sometimes there doesn't need to be a fear.
Yeah. Were you ever scared?
Oh yeah, I'm always scared. I'm an
Really?
anxious guy generally, I always worry, yeah.
So what do you worry about? Like, just generally speaking, like I think sometimes as entrepreneurs we learn more about the bruises and the tears than we do about the awards on the wall. You know, do you remember any particular nights that were just
Yeah, I mean, especially
brutal?
when you're launching businesses, I mean, you're worried about running out of money,
Yeah, I know.
making payroll, those kind of things. And those fears don't ever seem to completely go away, because then they evolve and change. So you go from starting a business, oh my God, are we going to survive? To all of a sudden we're making money, oh my God, we got a great business. Yeah, but what happens if we get blindsided? What if a technology comes and takes us all away? Oh, I think the business is worth X today, but what if it's not going to be worth that tomorrow? Should I sell? Do I need to sell right away?
Yeah.
So it's almost like I'm in a constant state, or most entrepreneurs are in a constant state of panic or fear. But that's part of the juice.
Yeah. Do you find though that you spend as much time in but what if this, like what if the wall on the outside
Yeah.
of your office that I think we caught a shot of was, you know, when you have the private jet and when you have the music festival and when you have you're the largest tenant in Liberty Village.
Yeah. As I knock off some of those things, I still find that
You should knock some of them off.
inherently, I don't know that I'm ever comfortable. Maybe it's my upbringing, or again that constant state of panic, of making sure we have enough reserves. That I don't know if I'd ever be able to justify a private jet or some of these things. I don't think my upbringing allows me to do that. I can barely justify first class.
No, I understand what you're saying. Sometimes the fact that you can have it doesn't necessarily mean you're okay with it.
Well, that's what's interesting. I'm just learning about myself, and just through self-analysis. You know, when I sold my first business, and I don't advocate this. I do think you should treat yourself, especially when you hit a milestone. But I remember selling my first company for like $30 million. I didn't buy myself anything, and I do look back and be like, man, I had all that money. I really should have bought some things.
Yeah.
Because then I wasted it on other things. But you do need to smell the roses along the way, and that's one thing that I've learned. That's very important. And for me, just maybe because I'm just maturing, it's not materialistic anymore.
Yeah.
It's more experiences and time with friends and family, or just like I was mentioning, just peace of mind.
So you were saying, you know, learning to smell the roses along the way. What is your version of smelling the roses now? Because clearly you still have a huge company to run.
Yeah.
How do you take time off? How do you find balance? What does home life look like?
I kind of forced myself, because I know me. It's almost like if you want to be disciplined, you've got to like let your calendar discipline you. So I book it in, right? So you want to make sure you work out. Okay, well, book it in, and maybe book a time even with a trainer, because then you know you got to show up. I did the same thing. So made a decision to purchase vacation property down in Florida 6 years ago, and then 3 years ago decided that, hey, you know what? 6 months of the year, let's just go there.
Good.
Let's homeschool our kids. Let's really take advantage of these years that we're never going to get back.
Yeah.
With our children. You can always work hard again after. And it was ironic though, because as I started to spend, and you read about this, but as I started spending more time working on the business or being away from the actual office, my business started growing even quicker. And I just thought that was just a coincidence. I'm thinking, no, maybe it's because maybe I was not getting in the way, but at least now when I'm away, all the leaders here got to figure out how to make sure they hit their numbers.
For sure, because that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I meddle less, maybe.
And how old are your kids?
My kids are 11 and 9.
11 and 9, so that's busy. And you homeschool them when you're in Florida?
We homeschool them year round,
but
it gives us the freedom to be there.
To be at wherever you want.
Yeah.
That's great.
And, I mean, their path is, I'm going to try and make sure they end up here at Wish. That's my vision.
Is it? Is it their vision? What if it wasn't their vision?
I'm brainwashing them the way my dad did me when he was telling me to be a lawyer. But I at least want to create a clearing or an opportunity for them to, to be able to pursue and follow their dreams. You know, if maybe, I know my daughter's very artistic, but, maybe we help her in some shape, way, or form. And I hope he has his entrepreneurial genes that I've got, and he wants to be in business in some shape, way, or form. I know some people say, "Oh, let their kids work somewhere else and then maybe come back," or I don't know if we want from the family business. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm a big fan of multi-generational businesses. I study all those families,
Right.
and I know some of them. What do they call it? Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves, where you through 3 generations. But I love hearing the stories of these families that were able to pass on the businesses to the young generation.
Yeah.
I for some reason I like that.
So that's the
I don't know if
legacy.
that's a history in me or the legacy or I'm a nostalgic guy. I love seeing when I go to these companies that have a rich history, like Hudson's Bay or some of these banks, and you see the history of all these presidents. I like that.
No, it's a great story, and more and more we hear about coming into work and what is the purpose, what is the why, and if the why for you somewhere, I'm sure there's a few whys, but is to leave something for your children to be proud of and to take to the next level, and
Absolutely.
God knows what our world is going to look like from a technology perspective in another 20 years.
Well.
That scares me too.
Yeah.
But I think there's a huge opportunity there too. I think we just need to keep rolling with it.
Well, entrepreneurialism is, I believe that's our future. That's our savior. Like some of the world's problems, whether it's global warming or whatever the challenges we face, ultimately it's going to be entrepreneurs going to solve them.
They are going to solve them.
Yeah.
I have a great quote from you that I actually can't remember word for word right now, but is that entrepreneurs, we solve and invent shit. No enterprise level or corporation can invent what entrepreneurs do. And then they come along and they gobble them up.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have that free wheeling ability to create like we do.
And reading a book by one of my first partners, a mentor, Tony Lacavera, talking about, when he tackled the three big national phone carriers and how uninnovative they were because they didn't need to be.
Yeah, for sure.
But they've held back the entire economy because you need fast wireless and internet to power the Internet of Things, but they didn't care. And they kept charging outrageous rates and hidden fees and network fees and activation fees and all kinds of made-up nonsense.
Yeah, and Tony talks about like you were talking about earlier, about the economic or the cultural state of entrepreneurialism in Canada and how the government, just we don't foster it here.
No. In fact, there's legislation like the new Bill 148 in the Ontario government, and they've retracted a little bit the Trudeau government, but they're really just trying to hurt businesses instead of creating an environment for us to thrive here.
Yeah, and 97% of the Canadian economy is small and medium-sized business, so it's crazy.
Yeah,
the stat is crazy.
It's a dire picture. Like, we've got to solve this.
Yeah, and I do think we will. Talk to me a little bit about, I mentioned all of the certificates and awards in the front hall, but I read a really interesting thing about the fact that when you started out, you had 0 PR strategy and 0 PR, period. But you acknowledged that once you won your first award, which one was your first award?
First personal award was the Entrepreneur of the Year.
Entrepreneur of the Year.
Yeah, before that, the company had won Best Places to Work.
Yeah, all of those, though, I think you commented about the fact that they helped you. You had a presence overnight the minute that you'd won some awards. So did you have a strategy around that, or?
No, not really. I think we had a marketing person who says, hey, I think we should apply for some of these things.
Right.
Maybe they did. And I think what's most wonderful about those awards is it gives you a chance to kind of look back and say, okay, you know what, we're in the forest every day. We're in the front lines in the battlefield. We don't take enough time to reflect on what we've actually accomplished and how far we've come. So that's what's wonderful about things like the awards. It gives you a chance, even if it's just that one night at the awards night.
Yeah, for sure.
With your team.
But you get it every day. Like, you can walk in every day, and if you're having a bad day, say,
That's true.
You know what, we actually have. Do you find you can beat up on yourself pretty badly?
I'm notorious for that. Yeah, I'm kind of never content.
So
where we are.
Let's talk about that a
Which
little
is
bit
good and
too.
bad.
It is good and bad, but that self-talk can cripple you.
Yes.
Do you have any techniques or tools that you use to combat that self-talk?
Yeah, and that's a constant battle. I mean, I discovered self-talk back in 1993 and it changed my life, understanding the power of the spoken word. But it's a constant battle of it. So it's almost like, you got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, and that's what's going on in between your ears. And that's really the difference between all of us. Maybe even athletes, right? I mean, even though they're physically, you have to have a certain amount of physicality to play a sport or run, 100 meters in less than 10 seconds. But that being said, there's a lot of other people with that same physical gift. The difference between them still is between the ears.
For sure.
Is their self-talk, is their discipline. That's the constant battle right there between your ears.
I know.
You know, so no matter what you're feeling, you've got to push forward. And it's hard. Instead of resisting, you're better off just to filter more positive, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I remember saying to my kids not too long ago, one of them was, you know, really beating up on my daughter, actually was beating up on herself. And I said, you know, listen to what you're saying and then ask yourself if you would ever say that to one of your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You don't belong here. What do you think you're doing? You know, we would never say to our friends the things we say to ourselves.
That's an amazing analogy you made, because I remember, probably both of them, but I remember one time my daughter saying something like, "Oh, I'm such a loser, I can't do anything right." And I was like, "Oh my God, it broke my heart."
Yeah.
Please don't say that. And just explaining it to her, it's like we do that all the time.
I know we do.
It's almost like, "Oh my God, I just really hope they don't drink or smoke." And it's like, yeah, but here
What's
I am,
worse?
drinking and smoking.
Yeah. No, I know. Tell us a little bit about your video series called Bootstrap, which, by the way, I wish I'd come up with that name before you. So good.
Yeah, we're just trying. It really came out of. I feel like I'm my best when I'm actually talking to entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That being said, most of my public talks are to either students or early stage entrepreneurs and or my people.
Right.
I get a chance to. We get together all together at least 3 times a year with all staff, and I do what I call a big picture talk.
Yeah.
And then I find that I even talk to all my staff and associates as entrepreneurs, because I kind of think they are. They're building a business within a business. They've got to, especially in this day and age, everybody kind of is their own entrepreneur, even if they're contracting their service in a full-time capacity to a company, or at least that's the way they should view themselves.
Especially in a company like this.
Yes, an entrepreneur company.
Right.
Yeah.
If they were at Bell, maybe not so much, but not to say Bell may not be entrepreneurial in some cases.
So oftentimes whenever I'd go do a talk somewhere, you know, I just found everybody got so engaged with, and I didn't know why. I just thought, oh, Mike's just such a great engaging speaker. And I started to understand, no, it's not that. I think they're so used to guest speakers talking about how they, you know, did something really incredible and far-fetched and raised money or went public. And here I am just talking about, we have no money, we got to make some sales.
Yeah.
And how do we do that?
It's so real.
And how do we balance our checkbook? How do we steal from Peter to pay Paul? So I really started to understand that, no, I think what people are relating to is the fact that I'm talking to them about really basic fundamentals, like mastering the basics of business, of survival.
Right.
And then using house money or profits to then worry about growth, instead of borrowing and trying to figure out how to raise all this money when you don't even have a proven concept. So I think that was the commonality. So then I figured, let me share this in a video series or a blog, because then anybody can relate to it, not necessarily a CEO or even an aspiring entrepreneur. It could be a mortgage broker, it could be a real estate agent, it could be a sales rep.
Yeah, and I love that. And I was just telling you before we started rolling that one of your recent blog posts was about, you know, getting out there and telling your story. And you actually say, many times we say, nobody cares to hear about my story. I'm too small, or I'm not significant enough. And you had an awesome comment. You said that there's always somebody out there that needs to know the expertise that you can give them today.
Exactly.
So tell us what you're reading, who you're following, what blogs do you follow, where do you get your inspiration, Frank?
I get my inspiration from all types of sources, to be honest. Other entrepreneurs, for sure. I love reading about other people's success stories.
Where do you read that?
I like biographies. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's Ted Rogers or the
Richard
Bronfman
Branson
story. I'm reading Tony Lacavera's book now.
Yeah.
The basics I try and read over and over. From when I first got into self-help back in '93 and reading Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, that's the Bible. You get that down pat, you'll be successful in life no matter what you do. What to say when you talk to yourself, think and grow rich, some of those basics. Then the business books like Good to Great, Jim Collins.
Yeah.
Like those are ones where they're so good that it's
Yeah.
almost like that's all you need. It's like what do you need beyond the Beatles if you were stranded on an island? You
Right.
got it all. You have the Beatles.
Very, very
So-
true.
so-
And you can read them over and over again or listen to them. I have them on podcasts or on through Audible, and
You get something new every time,
Every
depending
time.
where you are. That's
Yeah.
what makes them so good. It's like a really, really good film or a really, really good band like the Beatles. Like as you change. I mean, I had one relationship with them when I was 15, and now it's completely different. Now that I'm 45, listen to the Beatles.
Yeah. Do you follow anything online though? Do you follow any publications or?
Yeah, I mean now there's just comes from everywhere now, so it almost depends what just kind of catches my attention. But I like guys like Maston Kipp and even Anthony Robbins.
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Like the Oprah One Network's awesome.
I know, she's still awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to wrap up, I mean, for other aspiring entrepreneurs out there, or even for all of us that are, maybe even doing it for 20 years or more, what would you say to them when they're having a bad day or to encourage them to go forward? I mean, I often say in our office, can you imagine what would happen if Alexander Graham Bell said to himself, you know what, Mom, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe I should just go back to school.
I think it's just that I like using the analogy when I'm out there doing something like golfing or fishing and say, well, you know what, even if the golf game's not going well, we say, well, a bad day of golf is better than a good day at the office. I would say the same thing with an entrepreneur. You know what? A bad day as being your own boss is better than a good day of working for someone else.
Yeah, that's a great way to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That concludes our podcast for today. Be sure to check out our site, truthanddare.ca, for more podcasts and more content where we interview Canadian entrepreneurs just like you. Growing a business is hard work, and as entrepreneurs, we don't always have the answers. Some of us are a few steps behind the people that we admire, and sometimes we're a few steps ahead of someone else. One thing I know for sure is that when we share our truths and challenge our dares, good things always happen.